An India-bound ship by the name of Galaxy Leader has been hijacked from the Red Sea. It has been hijacked by the Houthi rebels. Why have the Houthis done it? We are going to talk about that. From the perspective of this examination, more so we have to understand the strategic significance of the Red Sea. The PDF will be provided through my Telegram channel, Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any question, any query regarding this examination, you can also talk to me on my Instagram and follow me on my threads. So, an India-bound ship by the name of Galaxy Leader, it was coming from Turkey via Red Sea to India. It has been hijacked by the Houthis who operate in Yemen. And this ship consists of at least 22 people according to some reports. Some reports are saying there are 52 on board. But these belong to different nationalities. Why this particular ship has been hijacked, which has been condemned by many countries, mind you. It has been hijacked supposedly or allegedly because of its association with Abraham Ulgar, who is an Israeli and he has a stake in a company that runs the ship's Galaxy Leader. And this is not a surprise, not at all, because yes, a couple of days ago, the Houthi did say that we are going to take seize of certain ships that are going to pass from the Red Sea. So Red Sea is not only from the perspective of trade it is significant, but also from the perspective of military operations it is very significant. I will tell you about that as well. But let's first of all talk about the Houthis. The Houthi movement began in the 1990s. And it began via a particular family. You know, Houthis are basically Shias. And under Shias, there is a subsect. There are two sects, Shia and Sunni. And under Shia, there is a subsect by the name of Zaidi. And Houthis are actually Zaidi Shiites. And they actually operated in the regions, or they were situated or located in the regions in Yemen, and specifically North Yemen, where poverty, undernourishment, lack of proper standard of living, all these prevailed. And they wanted to ensure, the Houthis wanted to ensure that they can also grow. And they lied very close to the Sunni powerhouse, Saudi Arabia. So this is not just a sectarian issue that is going on in Yemen itself, but also an issue of poverty. There is an issue of standard of living. There is an issue of remaining at the receiving side of the stick. So there are many complicated matters that have given birth to the Houthi rebellion. And as I said, that they operated in North Yemen. Specifically, since they have took control of Sana'a, Saudi Arabia has ensured that it doesn't let the Houthi movement expand to its regions. Moving on. Now, the war in Yemen actually began in late 2014 when Sana'a was seized by the Houthis. Saudi Arabia intervened at the head of the Western Bank coalition in March 2015, and the Houthis established control over much of the north and other big population centers. I have already showed you this particular map. Here is the control. Most of the control of Houthis is there. But right now in Yemen, the situation is still under control. As I have covered this particular topic, how the Al-Aqsa Mosque unites the Muslims around the world. It doesn't matter if they are Zaidi Shiites or they are just Shiites or they are just Sunnis. The Al-Aqsa Mosque holds immense significance in the Muslim world because it is the third most holiest place of worship after Mecca and Medina to Muslims. And I have covered this in detail, why Al-Aqsa Mosque is important in the Muslim world. Moving on. So as you can see, their relevance right now is from the perspective of the war that is going on in Israel, between Israel and the Hamas. As you can see, how the military spokesperson Yahya Sari said that a large number of ballistic missiles and drones towards Israel was put on October 31st to help Palestinians to victory. October 28, that resulted in blast in Egypt, was blamed by Israel on the Houthis. October 19 incident in which the US Navy intercepted 3 cruise missiles was also a manifestation of Houthi sentiments. They are also a part of an axis of resistance. This axis of resistance is actually backed by Iran. What is their relationship with Iran? Now we know that Iran is a Shiite country and Saudi Arabia is a Sunni country. Houthi are Zaidi Shiites. The Houthi slogan is actually very clear. We know what their intention is. Death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews and victory to Islam. This is their motto. Moving on. What kind of ammunitions and arsenal do they have? They not only have small arms, anti-tank missiles, roadside charges with the help of Iranian aid, but also ballistic missiles, UAVs, anti-aircraft missiles, and self-produced and foreign-made anti-ship missiles. Now let's talk about the Red Sea. Red Sea is surrounded by many important countries such as Saudi Arabia, Yemen in the Asian side. Then from Africa we have Egypt, we also have the Sinai Peninsula over here. Here only we saw the Gazans started moving when the Rafah border was opened for a point of time. Then we have Sudan, we have Eritrea, here we have Djibouti. So these are the certain countries which remain important from the perspective of today's class. We know that the entire Gulf region is not united. When the entire Gulf region is not united, it will try to have an upper hand over each other. We also know that in Africa, we have certain countries that are not stable politically. Sudan being one of them, and also Eritrea being the other one. So these particular countries have a gap. These countries have a gap with each other, and these countries have a gap within themselves. So what do? They try to look out for partnership in order to safeguard their own choices, safeguard their own interest. So what happens? Military bases started to get built, and since China has also shown outreach specifically through Djibouti by building its naval base few years ago, this region is getting more important. As I told you, not only from the perspective of trade, because it has so many choke points. Choke points are specifically those lines of operation, those sea lanes which are important for trade, for movement. And when these choke points are taken control of by any particular party or any particular group, trade can go into tatters. And whenever there will be an economic vacuum, there will be extremism, there will be radicalization, and that is why employment is important. This is all interconnected. You have to think it from this particular perspective. So as I was going, that these countries will try to look out for safeguarding their own stakes. Then they will look for partnership. The partnership will be done through neighbors only, right? So what happens? Saudi Arabia gets involved. What if Saudi Arabia has to launch any sort of attacks on the Houthis in Yemen? Not only from its region, but also from other regions. Can it go for naval bases or other sort of bases? Yes, of course can. So first, the problem in the Red Sea is war in Yemen. We know that Yemen is lying close. It has a border with the Red Sea. Riyadh and Abu Dhabi established military outposts on nearby African shores, specifically Eritrea, from where they can actually work against Yemen. So you see, Riyadh and Abu Dhabi, UAE and Saudi Arabia, they are very sure that we have to have a partnership with Africa. What does this mean? This means militarization of the Red Sea. This means this is the new region of tension. Not only Black Sea right now, but Red Sea is also becoming a contentious zone. Moving on, UAE fighter jets and warships soon began launching the attacks from Eritrea towards the contested port city of Aden when they had to. It has happened, that is why I am discussing it. Also, with the help of this map, you can see UAE has their outposts in Somalia. Then we have USA having their outposts in many other countries, specifically Ethiopia. Then Turkey also has in Egypt. Then UAE also has a lot many regions to cover right now. Talks are going on. When that gets finalized, I will get into that as well. France also has their outposts. So these particular proxy countries are trying to ensure that their own narrative goes on in Africa. Africa is becoming contested because of the presence of Gulf and the Red Sea, and the importance of Red Sea to remain free for proper communication, for proper movement of trade. Alright, moving on. Red Sea Forum is another issue that is going on. Red Sea Forum will be a forum of those particular countries which have a border with it, and there is the necessity of coordination between these countries so that free movement of goods and services and military can take place. But the problem is right now we do not know which countries can be considered as bordering countries and also peripheral border countries, and whom to include in this forum, what should be the criteria for that. This also needs to be talked out. Then a RITSI forum can be established. Okay. So these are the certain things that we had to keep in mind from the perspective of examination specifically. I hope you understand and understood this question in this particular class very well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay updated.